Hey everybody! Well, today we're going to take a look at another cool kit from Rokr. Now this is the Chocolate Factory Marble Run. So it's a neat little wood kit, and it's got a neat little kind of candy factory type of thing going on, and the marbles kind of look like gumballs or something. There's a mechanism that brings them up. They go around this little spiral thing on the inside, and it's got some really nice looking pieces on here. On the back here, we can see that it's got a few little things on here that kind of talk about what it has. I think it has some lights because it says it uses two CR2032 batteries. So that's the little button cells. So I don't think it's motorized or anything like that. There's a crank that you'll turn over here, but it does have lights in it. So that's pretty neat. All right, well, let's take a look at all the parts that this comes with. All right, so here we go. There's a lot of parts to this set. This is another one of these really big kits. Now, I've been eyeing this kit for a while, and I just never got around to getting it, and I just happened to see it. There's a lot of stuff here. Okay, so let's take a look at these panels. You can see the really nice pieces in here. These pieces are always nicely done. They pop out of the frames really nicely. You can see some really cool pieces going on in here. I don't know what any of this stuff is. Wow, look at all those. Ooh, that's neat. It almost looks like a roulette wheel or something. Round pieces. Look at these beautiful pieces. There are some very nicely done artwork on these. Look how good these look. These look very, very impressive. Really love the way that looks. The paint job on these is very nice. The graphics. Factory right there. There's some more going on here. Wow. And these pieces here, now these are the kind of pieces that will bend. They're made to bend. And these can be kind of troublesome, so I hope they don't break on me. Doesn't look like they give you a spare for that one. Hopefully it doesn't have to bend too far. Look at all these. Wow, I mean, oh my gosh, there's so many pieces to this. This is going to take me a while to put together. Here's some more colored parts. Oh, look at that. There's a little Chocolate Factory sign right there. Very, very cool. All right, so now we got all these things. There's some kind of tape. This is probably double stick tape for something. Here is the battery pack and the string of lights. I'm going to use the CR2032 batteries. I happen to have some, so that's good. I'm not sure. Oh, that's a bell. Look how cool that is. It's a neat little bell. Here's some marbles. They look like gumballs. They look good enough to eat. Of course, you don't want to eat those. Here we got some, oh, look at that. There's some nice little pastries in there. Some cakes. And I'm not sure. It looks like these are little rubber feet. And some kind of a disc. There's some wax for lubricating the parts. Not sure what these are for. Maybe they're the awning or something. Here's a dome. This dome looks like it was from one of those ornaments, like one half of them. There's some screws. These are all labeled too, which is great. Some sandpaper and a sanding stick. There's some clear washers. And then we have some tools here. We got a screwdriver. There's a spring, some metal rods. Looks like there's going to be a lot of stuff going on in here. These are probably the handles to the crank. But yeah, oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff going on here. All right, well, I can't wait to get started. I hope it works when I get it all finished. All right, so I've got to show you what's going on here. This is a progress report. So as you can see here, this thing is getting pretty tall right up here. And you can see it's all nicely painted and colored. And now, this thing here, look at the crazy gear mechanism going on in there. That is some serious, that is some serious work going on there. Now, amazingly, this went together surprisingly well. And as you can see, when we turn it, it works better when I set it down. But you can see what's going on with these gears. See, it turns very smooth. You just got to kind of make sure you wax everything. Once again, that wax is very important. You can see the whole gear mechanism going on in there. It looks fantastic. So it's really cool. And now this piece, you do some sub-assemblies as you go. And then this part here, this is really cool. Now let me turn the camera. I want to show you this neat looking tool. This tool here, you build this early on in the build, and this helps you align these clear washers. So the first one you put in like this, and it'll align them for you. So it'll tell you which one you stick this in, you know, so you'll push the the metal pipe here, the metal stem, and then it'll align that first washer for you, and then the second one aligns it like that. And that way it puts the perfect spacing between these for the next part of the assembly. It's really cool. So I've used these before on other kits, and they're really handy, and I think that's a really neat thing that they do when they give you these kits to build. And here's another piece. This comes in handy when you're trying to push these onto here, because these things are really hard to get on these rods like that. So it's very cool. And we haven't used these yet. I think that's another thing where you kind of measure that everything's right. So yeah, this is very cool. All right, well, I'm loving the way this is going together already. It's pretty neat, and there's quite an elaborate thing. All right, well, back to work on it. Okay, so now we got a lot more work done. There is a whole lot of gears going on in there. So I wanted to show you this before it gets all buried. But yeah, there's a lot going on. Now, let me see if I can turn this. But this little robot, there's a little robot chef right here. And you can see how all of this turns. Let me see if I can leave him to the side and turn this. Nah, he's going to get stuck. But here you can kind of see all these gears moving on. This is just crazy stuff going on in here. And also it's interesting, this little thing in the side here, see if I can kind of show you right in here. It moves from side to side. Let me see if I can get it from this angle. All right, so here it is right here. Now I'm guessing the balls somehow move. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm bumping the camera. Let's see if I can get it better in there. All right, so I'm guessing the ball gets trapped in there, and then it moves it from side to side. See how that goes in and out? That was that sub-assembly that I showed you earlier. And so it's so hard to do this without that little robot is what's causing kind of the hard movement here. But yeah, you can see how that goes in and out. So it's some kind of ball movement. Here's the little robot chef. I think he bobs up and down. That's what he looks like right there. So yeah, this is becoming a really cool thing. This went on thankfully good. It didn't break. These can be really fragile sometimes. And there was another one here on the front, right there. That's really cool. It looks like brick, and you just stick that on with the double stick tape. There's a little chocolate sign right there. This is really cool. It's going together really good. I'm having a lot of fun putting this kit together. This has been one of the more funner ones that I've done in a while. All right, well, I just wanted to show you this before it all gets covered up. Okay, so this part here was pretty rough, pretty rough. You got to get these lights inside of this whole little sign right here. But the thing is, the lights are on the string, as you can see right here, and they're spaced apart. And you got to try to space them in between. See these little holes right in there? They got to shine through those holes. And that's not an easy thing to get them in there, because you got to wrap the wires here on this side. You can see them. See how they're lined up right here? There's a bulb there and a bulb there, and you got to kind of get the wires in between these little notches in here. And they're not perfectly spaced, so you're going to have to kind of figure out how the wires are going to get in there. That was a little tricky. I had a hard time there. So there's a row of lights on the inside, and then there's another row of lights on the outside, and they come out the back over here. And then this whole thing is going to get installed right on here. And then the wires, I'm not sure where the rest of the lights go. Probably near the top or something. But yeah, that was rough. That was a rough part of this. So just a heads up, if you're building this, that you're going to struggle with that for a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you'll have a better luck with it than I did. Okay, so I've got a lot more done here, as you can see. Now, I had to struggle with a couple sections here. Well, let's start back here. This back panel, you're going to struggle a little bit to get this whole front section on here. You got to do it in a certain sequence, like they say in the directions. You got to put this whole part down on the base first, and then you kind of work your way on putting everything else in there. But you got to make sure it's one of those things where you're connecting a whole bunch of different points all together, and then, you know, making sure this piece goes through here and connects there, and that connects, and it's a lot of, you know, just fiddling with it to make it fit right. But once you get it, it's in there, but you're just going to have to fight with it a little bit. Here you can see some of the ramp work that's going on in there. It's very cool. You'll notice there's a little bunny rabbit right there. There's a couple of these, and they're kind of hidden in here. I'm guessing they're supposed to be part of like what makes it work. Let's see, where's the other bunny? There's another really cute bunny that's, oh, there he is. He's hiding. He's hiding down inside there. And I have one more bunny left, so I'm not sure where that one goes. Now, another thing I really had to struggle with is this part right here. This round section, which it looks really cool. I'm guessing the ball rolls down there almost like a roulette wheel. And when you turn the crank, you can see how this works. And let me tell you, it took me a long time to get this to work right because this upper ring right here gets connected into those notches. See how they're kind of in these notches right here? Well, the bottom part of that notch was dragging on this part of the wheel, this section here, and I just could not get this thing to turn smooth at all. And finally, I realized that's what was causing the drag, so I just snipped off those pieces altogether so that there is no bottom part of that notch, and then I glued this ring to the this little part right here. So let me see if you can see how there's a little bit of glue. I don't know if I can focus, but that's where I had to glue it, was right in that spot. That way this is attached to these pieces, but they're not actually touching the wheel. See how there's a gap right in there? That's what you want, because otherwise it causes too much of a drag. But whatever that, I'm not, well, it was probably just the way I built it. I don't know. Maybe you'll have better luck with it. But I definitely had to cut off that piece. And now, without that on there, this thing turns perfectly smooth. See, that works really good. I do think that Rokr needs to not shy away from things like a ball bearing. Instead of having wood dragging on wood, go ahead and put a ball bearing in there. You know, some kind of Lazy Susan type of ball bearing. That would just make things work a whole lot better. You just got too much wood dragging against wood there. But anyway, oh gosh, at least I got this far on it. All right, so hopefully I can get more work done on it. All right, so I finally finished this thing, and oh man. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I got it done, but there is one thing that I really screwed up on. This ramp right here, this was my own mistake. I could not figure out why the balls were getting stuck way back in there, and it wouldn't clear that whole area. Well, it turns out I accidentally put the ramp on backwards. How I did that, I don't know, but see how there's kind of like this indentation in there? I had it the other way around, but even so, even after I fixed that, the ball still wouldn't quite clear in that area. So what I ended up having to do is I took, see that metal post that's sticking up right? Oh gosh, I don't know if I can point to it. It's way in there. Well, first of all, see this little clear piece right here? That clear thing is one of these right here. These are what you put on there, like little clear washers. That's what you put on the end of the rods so that they'll stay in place. You can kind of see one. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. Right there. See that? So now you'll notice how the rod over here doesn't have one. I took that off because um, even though it tells you to put them on the very end like that, that rod there just wasn't enough clearance for that, for this section in here to have enough clearance right in there for the ball to go through. So if you have an issue with the ball's getting stuck in there, you're gonna have to pop that little clear washer off those front struts right in there, because those are just, I don't know, it's a really tight section in there. And then on top of that, I had to kind of jury rig this a little bit differently. So I ended up cutting off this piece and then gluing it. And then I kept this curved piece on there because you're going to need that to guide the ball down that ramp right there. But having this a little lower like that helps the balls roll out better. It's more of an incline in there. All right, well, hopefully you don't have as many problems with that as I did. All right, here it is all finished. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad I got this thing done now. I got to say, this was kind of a rough build. Some of it went together pretty good, and others of it not so much. It was one of these really technical ones. It's one of the more technical ones I've built. In fact, the pinball machine, I did a video on that one, if any of you saw that, but it was a pretty elaborate kit, and everything went together surprisingly well. This one here is probably the next most elaborate kit I've ever put together when it comes to these wood kits. And as wonderful as it looks, it's not, I would say, the best as far as all the stuff that's going on in here. I'll show you a close-up of all the gear work in there. You kind of saw it as I was building this thing. It looks really cool. I absolutely love it. And if you can get it working, it works pretty good. I did manage to get this thing to work, and I'll show you all the things that it can do. But man, it was a rough build. Okay, let me show you some close-ups. All right, let's start at the bottom here. So we can see the nice little cakes and desserts right there. Back in the back, you can kind of see the little robot that's back there. He's kind of a bit dark in the shade, but he moves when you turn the crank. Here's where the balls kind of stack up on the ramp down underneath here, and then they'll come into this little thing right here, and that thing goes in and out and slowly pushes the balls all the way up this little chamber, all the way to the top, and one by one they come out near the top right there. It's pretty cool the way it works. It's like a little elevator. Here you can kind of see how all of that looks. Got this nice detailing over here with some candies that you kind of put near the end of the build. Lollipops and candy canes and stuff. There's a nice little poster right there, which is very cool. This whole thing is really nice on the front that I showed you earlier. And then there's another piece of artwork right there about the chocolate factory. There's the crank. And then we got this neat little bell on there. And I don't know why they put it on there, but it's kind of cool that they have it. Here's another little chocolate factory sign on there, kind of crooked. I'll show you the top here in just a minute. Here's these ramps that I was showing you earlier. And then there's all the workings down there. This is a really crazy thing. I mean, there are so many different gears and stuff going on in there. It's crazy. Probably one of the more complicated ones I've ever seen. And there's some more of that stuff going on. But yeah, this, I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of a rough movement. It really is. Now near the top here, you can see there's a nice little area. I'll turn the lights on. There's lights in here, and you can see that it'll light up inside there. It's pretty cool. It mentioned something about the balls getting stuck in there, so you can take this off to go inside there and look around. Thankfully, I haven't had any issues. This part here is really cool. There's a dome, and then there's actually a string of lights that go underneath this little arch. So there's lights underneath there, but I like that little dome on there. It's kind of cool, and it has this nice little thing that kind of looks like a jukebox or something maybe. There's a little antenna right there. This is really neat. When the ball goes through this ramp that's up at the top here, see if I can get some light in there. So the ball goes down there. It hits this little flapper thing on the inside, and it makes that little arrow turn back and forth. I'll show it to you when we start showing how everything works. This is the little open sign and the factory sign, and that lights up. That's the part I was telling you. It was kind of hard to get those lights in there just right. There's another ramp down in there, and that drops the balls down inside the, I'm guessing that's supposed to be like a mixing bowl or something. Maybe that's what that is. I like this too. It's like a little present up here on the side. It just looks cool. I mean, the whole thing looks nice. It really does look cool. I do like all the effort that went into it. There's that little ramp right there. And it kind of comes down that little ramp. And then it goes into that, I call it a roulette wheel because that's what it looks like. All right, so let me turn this around, and then let me start turning the crank, and I'll show you how it works. All right, so let me start by turning on the light on here. This switch is not in the most convenient place, but here's the lights. Now, I'll turn the lights down a little bit later to show you what it looks like in the dark, because it really looks nice lit up. And here is the crank. Now, I gotta say, this is not the best movement, but here you can see the balls dropping down. They look like little gumballs. It's really cool. I don't know if you can see that little meter right there. When the balls hit that, see how it moves that in there? I'll get a close-up of it. But you can see, I mean, it works good if you can get it, the darn thing to work. But it's like, even now, I'm having a hard time with this crank. There's just too much stuff going on the inside. I think it's almost an overcomplicated thing, especially being made of wood. All right, so let me get some close-ups. I want to show you what's going on back here in the back because it's kind of cool. All right, so let's take a look at this roulette wheel section here. Now, I will say that if the balls aren't being fed all the way in there, I have to kind of tip it every now and then. Okay, so there we go. Now, I kind of like how they fall down on those little compartments right there. It's kind of neat. It is kind of like a roulette wheel. It's like a little tornado in there. All right, let me show you what's going on down here. Okay, so down here is where you can see how the balls get all collected in there, and the weight of the balls kind of pushes them back into that little hopper thing. But sometimes they don't go all the way down, and that's why I was tipping it. Now, I'm not sure if you can see that little robot moving around in there. He moves up and down and side to side a little bit. He's kind of hard to see. I kind of wish he was a little more visible. But that's what's going on down there at the bottom. Up here at the top is where I was telling you that that little dial gets moved when the balls come out. See how it's getting moved on every time it jumps over there? It's kind of neat. And there's actually a little piece of clear plastic on there. So it looks kind of like a clock. I like that. I think it's a neat little detail that they stuck in there. I didn't know it had that. That's very cool. Okay, so here we can see what's going on in the back once the balls find their way down the ramps. And see what's going on here. That's kind of neat. I really like the way that they figured out how this is going on. Now this ramp here, that's the one that I was mentioning that I had a hard time with the balls coming out of there. But now see, here's another thing that I kind of don't like about this is they do get kind of stuck in a lot of different places. You get stuck in the roulette wheel too. But, you know, I mean, I don't know. I kind of wish this thing was a little better. I do love it, but I don't know. It's a little rough mechanism, that's for sure. On the roulette wheel, sometimes the balls get stuck back there where they're supposed to be pushed off of it. So if there's more than one ball, let's see if we can get them to do that. Yeah, it looks like they're working. Oh, see there. Now see that blue one got stuck right in there. It's kind of wedged in there. So you have to kind of push it. So that's another section that I'm not sure about. Most of the time they come off pretty good. Sometimes they don't even land on that roulette part of it. Yeah, so there's just a lot of sections in here that are not 100%, I must say. Here's how it looks in the dark, and I gotta say, it's pretty cool looking. It kind of reminds me of a jukebox, like I mentioned. I really like this section down here. It just looks like when you go into a restaurant, sometimes it's dimly lit. So I do like the added effect of the lights. I like how the main sign back there is lit right here, and I also like this dome being lit. So yeah, and there's two strings of lights when you put this in, and you kind of string them along in different areas. The instructions are pretty clear about where they go and how to do them. But like I mentioned, this part here was a little difficult, trying to space the lights out just right. I also like how even the little clock, or I call it a clock, that little arrow that moves that I showed you earlier, I like how even that's lit up. It's very cool. See, I'm not sure if the back is lit up all that much. Well, you can see a little bit back here with the dome, but for the most part, it's all for the front. And it uses two 2032 batteries, and it doesn't come with them, so you're going to have to make sure that you have those on hand. But changing those batteries is going to be kind of rough because it's kind of wedged up in here. The battery compartment's really smushed up in there, and so it's going to be hard to get it out when it's time to change those. I hope I don't have to change those for a good long time. But seems to be working pretty good now. Maybe the more I use it, it'll be a little bit better. I don't know. Still pretty cool, I guess, overall. So there we go, the Rokr Chocolate Factory wood kit. It's pretty neat. I like it. It retails for $60. I got it on Amazon, and they, as of the making of this video, they still have a 20% discount on it, like a coupon, an instant coupon you can use. But I don't know. I'm kind of half and half on this. I like it. I like the way it looks. I just wish it moved smoother. It's so rough. This whole thing, I really hope that Rokr will eventually, as they evolve more and more with these kits, because they're getting so good, I hope they'll, add more things like the ball bearings inside there, like the kind of Lazy Susan type of ball bearings, and something smoother than just wood rubbing on wood. It just doesn't work, and it doesn't matter how much wax you put on there. You're gonna, the wax eventually wears away, and you're still having the wood rubbing on there. But I mean, it is cool. I do love this thing. I just wish that I didn't have so many problems with it during the building of it. But also now that it's built, I will say that they get clogged up inside here, and they mention that too in the instructions that you can pop this thing off. I've had to do that once. Somehow they all get clogged up in there. You got to, unclog it basically. Same thing down in this area. They'll get clogged up. So there's a couple. I mean, it's not perfect. I don't really expect anything to ever be perfect when it comes to these things, but it's still pretty neat. I do like it. It was fun to build. I just wish, like I said, it was a little bit better. You will have a few pieces left over like these. They give you some extra ones of these because these are those fragile things that tend to break. So you get an extra awning piece and an extra piece right there. You'll also have a bunch of these left over, these metal dowels. I'm not sure why they give you so many of those. And there's also an extra handle. And then you'll, of course, have some extras of the clear washers that I showed you as well, which is good because when you drop those, they're nowhere to be found. And they give you an extra one of these little awnings that go down here at the bottom because it can be kind of easy to tear it. But all right, well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a cool kit. If you want to get one, I'll put a link in the description down below. And this is not a paid video or a sponsored video. I just thought it was kind of cool and wanted to try this thing out. I kept seeing it and wanted to try it out. But overall, I'd say it's a pretty neat little kit. All right, well, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons if you'd like. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next video. So thank you again, and have a good one.